happy to stay after the meeting to chat with anybody for things we can't get to during the agenda. And we're going to wait just a little bit longer for folks to come on. And I think at about 6:35, even as folks are coming on, we'll start with the introductions. Dwight, if that's okay.
So,
Paula, have you seen any bears lately?
Not lately, but I thought it was safe to put a feeder back out. And we had one knocked over, so back in it came. Well, although we haven't seen bears, a bobcat trotted literally down our front walkway yesterday. So
meow.
we have one in the neighborhood. Yep.
We have plenty here in Simsbury. And I found a trick. They love my trash can, which I have to keep tied the lid on, or otherwise they carry it away into the woods. But I've been using a deer repellent that I use on my plants on the side of the trash can, and that's enough to discourage the bears from going in your trash. They don't like the smell any more than the deer, or any more than I do, which is horrible smell. So if you've ever used it, it's great on my rhododendrons. Otherwise, the deer would eat them down to the stem. So there's a little helpful hint to keep the bears out of your trash. Try it. So what do you think, Alicia? You want to rock and roll?
Yeah, we still have a few board members that are still logging in. So if we want to start with introductions of the staff, I can get that going and then hand it over to you for introductions of yourself and the board. So I want to welcome all of you. It's great to see so many of you. I really wish we could have seen each other in person. However, you know, with COVID still going on and uncertainty, we decided to do it online again this year, but Dwight has promised full like lobster and filet mignon for next year's if we have it in person. So it's something to look forward to. And also, you know, the benefits of this though, you know, I'm still in my orthopedic slippers and leggings. So I'm sure we're all comfortable and happy where we are. But just a little bit, Rivers Alliance, we are a statewide organization working on water. We do advocacy, we do education, we do networking and clean water for the next generation, for Fish and Faucet for the next 50 years and beyond is our goal. I'm the executive director. I've been here in this position for about 3 years. Margaret Miner is supposed to join us at some point tonight. She's the previous executive director. But we have 3 part-time staff who are on. And Rose, do you want to introduce yourself?
Everybody, I'm Rose Guimaras, and I'm the Development and Programs Director at Rivers Alliance. And you know, call anytime.
Tony?
Hi, I'm Tony Mitchell. I do things with computers and websites and stuff, and gradually I'm being replaced by automatic systems, and that's just fine with me.
Shelly?
I am Shelly Shultz, and I'm the bookkeeper. I'm fairly new, only maybe 6 months in. I absolutely love it. This is just a great group. Totally believe in the whole mission. I'm learning a lot just from these meetings. I'm also learning that Dwight is our entertainment for these meetings, which is awesome. And I'm very, very happy to be here.
Thanks, Shelley. Dwight, do you want to take it away with introductions of yourself and the
I
board?
will, but I can't possibly be the entertainment because I'm looking at Marty Mador, one of our directors, who's now turning himself right side up. Thank you, Marty. You had me worried. I'm Dwight Merriam. I'm privileged to be the president of Rivers Alliance. And, you know, Alicia, there's a British philosopher from 100-something years ago who said, many hands make light work. And that is so true with Rivers Alliance. We have done some amazing things because of the many hands contributing. Each and every one of you, welcome this evening, and thank you for being here. Your being here shows your support. Your financial support throughout the year is very important. I'm very proud of the board that I'm going to introduce next, which collectively contributed is leadership gifts. What, about $4,700 was it, Alicia? Something of that order of magnitude. The board stepped up because they wanted to set the example for all the rest of you who are supporters that each and every one of us supports the organization too. In contributions, large and small, it all counts. And all of your volunteer efforts throughout the year make a big difference. And our staff is fabulous. Their mantra is do more with less, and they do far beyond what any other staff of that size could possibly do. It's just wonderful to watch. And our board, let me go down through the members of the board. Most of them are here tonight. I saw Lynn Warner. We're on, oh, there, hi, Lynn. We're on 2 pages, so I got to flip back and forth. Our vice president, the one who steers me in the right direction every time I wander off on some procedural issue. She has just wonderful and steps in and runs the board when I can. And I'm so happy to have her again as a candidate for vice president and to continue on. Dave Radka is our secretary. And he's on the road right now. He's going to try to call in on his phone. I don't know that he has yet. I just corresponded with him within the last hour. He's been on the board for 12 years. And he's decided that now that he's retired, it's time for him to go and do some work for other organizations after giving so much time to us. And we will miss him tremendously. There hasn't been anyone else that is so knowledgeable about the industry as David is, and his input, his insights, his energy, his contributions, his willingness to chip in and to be there and to help us as a board and as an organization has been without equal. And we thank him. It's a bittersweet time for us, of course, to see him go on to do some other things. But we're also just so happy to have had him with us for the last 12 years. So thank you, David. Hugh Rogers, I saw, is on the next page, I think. Oh, there you are, Hugh. It's always fun to chase around and find people. He's our treasurer, and we're solvent. Thank you for that. So, and Paula Jones, wave your hand, there you are, and thank you for all your contributions. Paula and I and Denise sometimes get together and do some writing on some of these issues, which has been very helpful to Rivers Alliance in terms of asserting ourselves in the larger community. Sharon Lewis, who's the executive director of the Connecticut Coalition of Environmental Justice, is a very important member of the board, someone that I've known for years and urged her to join the board, and she's been wonderful to have with us. Marty has been on the board for, well, he's on mute, but for a very long time. And his connections with the legislature are without equal. He knows the politics of environmental protection and taking care of our rivers better than anybody else, and we'd be lost without them. Sarah Martin, also a great friend of what was Weantanog, now Northwest, and brings to us a perspective and has been so generous with her contributions of her home in terms of having events there to extend the reach of Rivers Alliance and to assist in our fundraising abilities. She's just been wonderful in that regard. And Denise, where's Denise on this page? There, right in the middle. Hello. Denise is out in the woods tonight. There, you know, it's not too cold to be out there, and she's there all the time. And thank you so much, Denise, for all that you've helped me with on this board. So with that, Madam Executive Director, I guess we will move to the approval of the minutes of the 2020 meeting.
Yeah, actually, we're doing the cocktails and conversation first,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, does everybody,
and then the business meeting. Yes. And this, by the way, for those who for the third time, this is really ginger ale. It's just a fancy.
that's the third time you've said that, Alicia. This is.
I know. I'm just making sure people know.
If you keep repeating it. we'll
I'm
believe
not
you.
drinking on the job.
It's a mocktail.
We think she protests this too much.
Excuse me. So 2022 is the 50th anniversary of Connecticut's Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Act. And so to sort of kick that off while we're still in 2021, I thought I would give a very general overview of how, you know, the sort of the important dates and some of the key points of the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Act. This is not going to be long and in depth, don't worry. But it's really kind of a bedrock law here in Connecticut, and a really important one moving forward, particularly with climate change, because our watercourses, the natural workings of our wetlands and our backyard streams, our ponds, our bigger rivers, our smaller rivers, are all going to be critical in helping our communities adapt to climate change and mitigating some of the flooding and drought that we're going to experience over the next few years. So, oops, I'm taking back host, Tony, so I can I can share my screen. Hold on one second. I didn't go back to my first slide here. Sorry, folks. So, again, a brief history of the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Act. So, 1972. Exciting things that happened in 1972, or at least interesting things. There was the Watergate scandal. The Price is Right premiered, which, you know, lasted many years, but and also, in addition, the Clean Water Act was established. Our federal Clean Water Act was established in 1972. But also in 1972, again, Connecticut legislature enacted the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Act here in Connecticut. I've got the statutes that apply to it here if you're interested. And it created a regulatory process to consider the impacts of proposed development and other activities on inland wetlands and watercourses. Now, Connecticut is very parochial. New England is very parochial. So in doing this, they kept that sort of that home rule that the towns could have jurisdiction over the inland wetlands within their boundaries. So, but they had to give the towns time to sort of move into this. And so in the beginning, the state actually took the role in the towns that had not established an inland wetlands agency. But a little bit more than 10 years later, 15 years later, DEP said, okay, that's enough. Anybody who hasn't established an inland, an agency has to do it by 1988. So as a result, all towns now have an inland wetlands agency. So in 2021, how is this working? How is this working now? So the good thing about this is that Connecticut's protections are actually relatively comprehensive in comparison to other states in the country. There are still some states in the US that only protect their wetlands under the Section 404 of the Clean Water Act, meaning that there are actually very few things that fall under the federal protections. So ours is actually pretty comprehensive. I think we have a tendency to find flaws in and not realizing how good we have it sometimes. However, there's still room for improvement here in Connecticut. And as I mentioned, the room for improvement is only going to make things better as we face the issues we're going to have with climate change. So one of the things that is in need of fixing at this point is that there's currently no comprehensive training available for inland wetlands commissioners. DEP put forth an online training here in Connecticut, and it hasn't been available for a year now. So we have a lot of commissioners who've never been trained on how they should act as an inland wetlands commissioner. And actually only one commissioner has to be trained on a commission, but even if you don't have that one trained commissioner, they can still act on applications, which is interesting. And it's currently impossible to really understand how well we're doing or not with protecting wetlands here in Connecticut, because the number of towns who are reporting to DEP, who should be reporting to DEP are declining, and they're not reporting acreage. So Connecticut's Council on Environmental Quality used to, as part of their annual report on the environment, used to report on how we're doing in protecting wetlands, or how much wetlands we're losing. They can't even give that statistic out to the public anymore because the data is not there, because DEP isn't bringing it in and the towns are not reporting it. So we really could be doing a better job of understanding how we're doing with wetland protection or loss, but we're just not right now. And now is really an important time to understand that and have that important data. And it's also problematic, you know, when you think in terms of a watershed, which can encompass, even at the local basin level, 10 different towns. Those 10 different towns can be protecting those waters in several different ways. And in Connecticut, we do that in 170 different ways. Now, you're probably thinking there's 169 towns. Well, Groton actually is divided into two. So there are 170 inland wetland commissions. And this is problematic because we don't have consistent application of protecting our wetlands, of protecting buffers, of protecting our high quality streams where we're losing native and important species. So that is problematic. So now looking forward to the 50th anniversary in 2022, with all of these areas that need improvement, all of these things have to be looked at in how we're protecting our inland wetlands under a range of different things that really weren't considered in 1972 when we established the Inland Wetlands Act. first and foremost, and a lot of these things actually fall under it, but climate change is something we really have to think about. The value of that inland, of these wetlands have changed, because, you know, another thing here is ecosystem services. Preserving those ecosystem services is more important now than ever. Renewable energy siting is something that has to be taken under consideration. We want to meet our clean energy goals, but we can't do it at the expense of losing a lot of these ecosystem services and you know, maybe robbing Peter to pay Paul. So we have to find better systems for that. A lot of these boards are volunteer boards. So when we're looking at ways to make sure these boards are staffed is not a good word, but filled out completely, you know, we can't sacrifice the expertise by combining them with other boards, but there may be other ways we can make this happen. The other thing is, you know, affordable housing is extremely important. We have to make sure that in all parts of our state, in all of our communities, we have places that are affordable for families, for, you know, all of our residents. But we have to balance that again with making sure that it's done in a way that is not going to impact our inland wetlands or reducing any of our current protections. And possibly, you know, find incentives to make a lot of these developments friendlier to our wetlands and water courses than many other developments are. So these are a lot of the things that we're thinking about moving forward into 2022 as we're thinking about where we are now with how we regulate and protect like I said, our backyard streams, our ponds, our groundwater, our swamps, our fens, all of these places that you really have such a value to our communities and just in such a broader way that's now recognized. So I'm going to leave it here because, like I said, this is a very brief, and I wanted to leave a little bit of room if anybody had any questions or comments about how we're protecting our rivers and wetlands here in Connecticut.
Well, Alicia, this is Dwight. Let me just give a footnote to your remarks to bring to everybody's attention a little known but very important change in the legislation this year in which Rivers Alliance had a part. And what Alicia pointed out is that there's a lot going on, and including our concern about affordable housing, diversity, equity, and inclusion throughout, including access for recreational use and other use of water. Well, anyway, what happened was this last term, we already had a provision in the statute that said, and I'm looking over here at my other screen so I get the text, that municipalities that were contiguous to Long Island Sound had to take certain measures to protect the sound. They asked us to take a look at the larger legislation put forward by Desegregate Connecticut. We suggested that maybe that legislation could be amended modestly to include just a few words. So here's what it now says. Let me read a little part of it. And it directly affects what we're doing at Rivers Alliance. In any municipality that is contiguous to, ready for this, or on a navigable waterway draining to Long Island Sound, that's the language we added, has to, one, be made with reasonable consideration of the restoration and protection of the ecosystem and habitat of Long Island Sound, be designed to reduce hypoxia, pathogens, toxic contaminants, and floatable debris on Long Island Sound, and provide that such municipalities zoning commission consider the environmental impact on Long Island Sound coastal resources. So now it's not just the municipalities that are right on Long Island Sound, contiguous to it, but all the municipalities in the state of Connecticut that are on navigable waterways. And we haven't yet determined how many that is, but I'll tell you, it's a large number. And I think most of the towns don't fully know now that they have to do planning for their surface water, stormwater flows, and all of their land use decisions that address the issue of these watersheds and sub-watersheds draining ultimately to Long Island Sound. So those 1, 2, 3, 4 words that were added to that statute are going to have an enormous impact on what we at Rivers Alliance do in terms of working with local governments to preserve and enhance water quality throughout the state. So others, this is the time for you to join in on what you've been up to.
Thanks, Dwight. Ann Hulick has a question she put in the chat that she would like to ask. Ann? Hi, Ann.
Hey, Alicia, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Thank you so much for all the great work that you do. You are such an inspiration. And I just had a quick one, thank you for everything that you went over. That was really informative. So you mentioned about the training program that DEEP used to provide for inlands and wetlands. I didn't realize that had stopped. Why has that stopped? And is there something that we can do about it?
It had something to do with, I believe, the Flash player and how it sort of interacted with DEP's website. They had someone that sort of was hosting it, and I know it had something to do with Flash Player, but for some reason it wasn't completely working. So they took it down, and they are currently trying to find a new host. Now, as of the beginning of October, we were told that it would be up at the end of the month, and it still is not. So it's, this is something that it's just extremely important that people have access to it. And it was really fantastic. I actually took the online training. Now, I know it does not replace in-person training, but the fact that it's accessible to so many people was fantastic. I took it myself. I learned things, and it was free. So, not only would you have inland wetlands commissioners that were trained on how their role in regulating wetlands, but citizens could also train themselves to make sure their commissions are doing the right thing, which is important as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I was a former person on a inlands and wetlands commission, and everyone, was really encouraged to take part in that training. And I know it was very well done. And as you said, it's free. It was accessible. I didn't realize it was no longer available. And I just hope that we can somehow encourage DEEP to get that back up. So just thank you for all your information and all the work that you and the staff at Rivers Alliance do.
And Ann, thank you as well. By the way, Ann Hulick is the executive director in Connecticut or the program director in Connecticut?
My actual title is the Connecticut Director of Clean Water Action.
Yes, with Clean Water Action. So Ann is a great partner in water issues here in Connecticut. And also Joellen had asked if there's a reference to the statute. That Dwight referenced. I actually don't know it off the top of my head, but Joellen, we will get that to you. And so that you have it. We have your contact information. So does anybody else?
I have a question. This is Mary. Sorry, I'm not.
Sure. Oh, I couldn't see your hand. It blended in with the background.
So and it's here. how will the celebration of the Connecticut Inland and Wetlands and Connecticut Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Act dovetail with the clean water, the federal? I mean, since Anne's here, maybe can you guys both weigh in on like are you thinking about that together? I know there's got to be national celebrations of the federal, the 50th anniversary of the Clean Water Act.
Yeah, well, yes, I think that there are a lot of options. We haven't worked out the details yet, but it's something that certainly will be celebrated as well. But they go hand in hand essentially. Oh, I see Chris Sullivan just put the public act. Thank you, Chris.
And just
Yeah, and Alicia, I'll reach out to you. I think that's an excellent point. This is Anne. Our organization was actually the lead in getting that act passed. And so we're talking about a national celebration. And so you're right, Mary, and thank you. We should be coordinating among state leaders. So Alicia, I owe you a phone call. I'll
right.
call you.
All right, thanks.
Okay.
And
I want to mention also that I just learned today that 2022 will be the 25th anniversary of the formation of the Conti Refuge, the National Fish and Wildlife Refuge, and again the 200th anniversary of Frederick Law Olmsted, a native of Hartford, who actually a lot of his work was really related to water quality well before, and green infrastructure well before those phrases came about.
thanks, Mary. Denise, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I did. So wanted to just mention that the Water Planning Council yesterday approved the State Water Plan Implementation Work Group, the Education and Outreach Work Group work plan with the theme of celebrating the Connecticut Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Act. That'll be our theme. And there'll be a kickoff event February 2nd. So put that on your calendar. We don't have the exact time frame yet, but that is World Wetlands Day. So we'll be doing a kickoff associated with that. And I know there's several members who happen to be on the outreach and education work group, but we'll be looking at that. Look at events that'll be happening in May and June. May happens to be Wetlands Month, American Wetlands Month, or I should say National Wetlands Month, and then June is National Rivers Month. So we'll be looking at those celebrations throughout the year, and probably calling on some of you as we think about like, what's everybody doing, what's going on. There'll be definitely groups that I know Alicia and I have talked about many different things, but there's a whole host of groups that are looking at the celebration of the Connecticut Inland Wetlands Act. So I just wanted to bring that up. And Alicia, there's a couple more comments. I'm not sure how long we want to spend on this, but there's a couple more comments in the chat. Somebody was asking a question about merging commissions. So I'll just quickly say that my understanding, because we have questioned the potential of folks recommending merging planning and zoning and inland wetland commissions. And my understanding is that Desegregate Connecticut is not planning on promoting that they're looking at promoting the sharing of commissions across towns. So smaller towns, just like some smaller towns have a combined Board of Education, that a town may have a combined inland wetland commission with another town. I'm not sure quite how that would work. That would be something the towns would have to work out, just like they have to work out boards of education. And we know those can work and sometimes not work, depending on how the school system, but there's a lot of autonomy with boards of education, so it might work better. That said, there's some of us who made it very clear that merging land use commissions, particularly planning and zoning in inland wetlands, or even inland wetlands with conservation commission, is not necessarily a good idea. So, and we do know we have more combined conservation inland wetland commissions, but certainly the planning and zoning and inland wetlands. And it's good to hear that Ridgefield, I think it said Ridgefield, took theirs, were able to separate those. And we were also, if anyone was following the elections in November, defeated in Bolton. There was a proposal a referendum on the ballot for a referendum in Bolton to merge planning and zoning with inland wetlands. And we were able to defeat that. So that was a good thing. And they're saying it was for efficiency, but we don't believe that that would be a very good use. So we've been really following that. I know Alicia and I have been working hard following that. So
Thank you, Denise. And yeah, the concern is there's nothing preventing at this point, you know,
Yes.
the combination. And with some towns taking that initiative, or at least one, it's just of concern moving forward. At this point now, like I said, I'm going to stay out after the meeting. If anybody has any more comments or questions, if we run out of time during the segments, feel free to stay after and have a chat with me about anything else, but we need to move on to our a brief business meeting now, so we can get on to the really fun part of this, which is to recognize our environmental champions. So at this point, we're going to move on to the business portion of the meeting. Dwight, do you want me to take it away, or do you want me to just move through it?
I'll just jump in here. You got in your notice of the meeting copies of the minutes from our annual meeting on December 17th, 2020, a meeting which was via Zoom. And I know you've all carefully studied those minutes, and you're ready to have someone make a motion to approve them as presented. Does someone care to make such a motion?
So moved.
All right, somebody keeping track of this? Because I'm not. All right, that was you. Is there a second to the motion?
second,
There you go, Denise, thank you. And is there any discussion about the minutes corrections? All right, all those in favor, wave, raise your hand. Give some other gesture, there you go. Anybody opposed? Seeing none, the minutes are unanimously approved. Hugh Rogers, on deck, please, sir. And we did include in the notice a financial summary.
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and just move through this, and I'll let, unless you want to take it, I can go
No,
through
no, you go right ahead.
Okay.
Thank you, Bill.
Oh, geez. Sorry, I'm getting all of these notifications now that are hiding my screen share. So just briefly, this is an overview of last year's fiscal year. What our revenue and expense. One of the things that I have been working on with our absolutely amazing finance committee, who has really done an amazing job helping me refine our budgets and financial goals, is that we are working toward trying to bring us up to a certain amount of reserve to make sure that we are financially solvent through the whole year, which we usually are, but just having those financial goals to make sure that we have, enough funds, even when things crazy like COVID happens, or who knows what could happen going forward. But also included is how our money is spent. Keep in mind, we are a very small organization. So we, having a small staff, I think we really do a very good job, and staff will tell you I can be kind of stingy sometimes. I have this note on the door walking out of the office: did you turn down the thermostat? So we really try to do a lot with a little. And we spend the majority of our funds that come in on program. Our operating expenses are really our basics, our rent, which we have a very, very good deal with our landlord. All the basic stuff that we need to survive. And of course, our administrative, just keeping us going, making sure that we are doing everything to keep our business on the up and up. So this is how we, this was last fiscal year and how we have spent our money. Does anybody have any questions? All right, is there a motion to approve financial report?
so moved.
Paula moves. Is there a second?
second,
Thank you, Denise. Any discussion, comments on the financial report? All those in favor signify by raising your hand or saying aye. Anyone opposed? Raise your hand at this point. Seeing none, is unanimously accepted as presented. We now move to the election of directors, and maybe, what do we talk about? Alicia Rose could do this, or you?
I can do it.
Okay, because there are several members of the board who are up for re-election to the board, and several members of the board up for re-election to their offices. I'm precluded from doing that. So Alicia, would you take it from here? Items C and D, election of directors and election of officers.
Sure. So we're going to start out with the officers for next year, which are Dwight Merriam as president, Lynn Werner as vice president, and Hugh Rogers as secretary.
You mean treasurer?
I'm
No.
sorry, treasurer.
Okay.
Oh, and secretary. I thought you said that you volunteered to do
No,
that.
you know, we can combine that.
There you go. Lucky you.
So with that, I'd like to hear a motion to move that slate of officers.
I
This
make a
could be-
motion. Yeah, I make a motion to move the slate of offices as presented.
Second,
All right, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? All right, and now for the next group of directors. Hugh Rogers, Sharon Lewis, and Paula Jones for the next year's slate. Like to hear a motion to move that slate of directors. And any member can make the motion.
do it. So moved.
All right, Mary, thank you, Mary Moulton. So that was Mary Moulton that made the motion,
Second.
seconded by Denise. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right, so excellent. So we're almost done with the business portion. I'm just going to give a brief overview of last year. Try to get, nope, that's not it. Hold on one second. Sorry, folks. All right. Hold on one second. Sorry about this, folks, but for some reason it's being difficult. All right, sorry, I cannot bring the slideshow up for some reason. Okay, I think I just fixed it.
I think someone might have their hand raised. Does that keep you from sharing your screen?
Nope.
Okay,
Let's see.
never mind.
Okay, so just a really quick, now this does not include everything we've done in the past year, just some highlights of what's been going on at Rivers Alliance. First of all, I want to thank all of you, all of our supporters, all of our friends, our allies, our partners in conservation and advocacy and education. You're all amazing. One of the best things about working in the environmental conservation, science, advocacy realm is the people that you get to work with. And what keeps me going every day. So I want to thank all of you, whether you provide your support with knowledge, cheering on, partnership, money. I just want to thank you. All of you are so extremely important to us, and I'm so glad to see so many of you here tonight. So just a broad overview of some of the highlights of the legislative session, because there was actually a lot that went on this session as opposed to last year where we kind of said, not a lot got done. So the stormwater utility enabling legislation was passed, which is great because it's going to help our municipalities pay for a lot of their stormwater issues and help improve and protect water quality. Soil health legislation was passed thanks to Denise and the Soil and Water Conservation District. They put a lot into this. Soil health is so extremely important for water quality and quantity. So that passing was another huge win. Modernization of the bottle bill. It's something that Connecticut has been moving toward for so many years. And the fact that it got passed this year was a huge win. Also PFAS in AFFF, the buyback program, and also the phase out of PFAS in food packaging were some really big wins for water this year. And like I said, there are a lot of other things that were worked on and passed, but those are four of the big ones. Another thing that's ongoing is the siting of large-scale solar. And we're engaged with the Steps for Solar process, which is what we hope looking at the siting of solar from soup to nuts to make sure that we're considering projects in the right places and not, like I said, robbing Peter to pay Paul on some of our climate change goals. Our ombudsman program. So we get a lot of emails and calls from folks that are either having issues with something in their own inland wetlands commissions or a project, and they need help getting through a process or finding out who they can contact about something they have a concern about. And actually, this is where a lot of issues rise to the top and where some of our gaps are in our regulation and permitting process. And we learn this through folks who are struggling through at the local level. And it's always great to be able to help people, you know, through anything. And it's part of the job. I know that I really enjoy it and that Margaret Miner really does a lot in helping us out with, continues to help us out with. In state water planning, I continue to serve as the co-chair. We're participating in discussions on establishing a water chief, which we hope will really bring more progress on implementation and progression of issues in the state water plan, and really also continuing to push for progress on issues that we didn't resolve. Because I'm sure you remember Margaret and myself telling you when the water plan was finished that there's still some things we need to work on and some big issues that we still need to find resolution on. And there's a lot of focus and a lot of really great work being done on implementation of the consensus items, but we still need to find resolution for some of those other items that we didn't resolve the first time around. So it's always kind of nice when you work on something for a while and you actually see the changes happening as you're working on it, and that somebody actually takes a product and does something with it. Well, the subgroup of the implementation work group working on drought, we made a whole lot of recommendations to the larger group of state agencies that works on drought in Connecticut at the state level. And actually, as we were working through the process, that group was making some of the changes we were talking about and recommending. They're going to be sort of codifying some of those things, making sure it's part of their process so that we have continuity and efficiency when we're reacting to drought and how we're reacting to drought. So that was really kind of exciting. And that group is going to be implementing a lot of those recommendations. So it's always nice to see when you worked on something for a while with a group of people and come up with something that you think makes sense, it's actually acted on. So we've also been involved, and this is kind of one of those, insider baseball issues, but release-based remediation. So when you have a property that has contamination on it, under our current system, it could sit there for a very long time and not get cleaned up. And our current system just sort of creates the situation where you can have a property that'll sit there for a very long time. The new release-based remediation regulations, when they come online, will help clean up more of these brownfields and contaminated properties so that they can be sold and used for something more beneficial. And really, it puts the onus on the person who created that, and that it needs to get cleaned up so we can move forward and clean up properties and utilize them in a better way. So what's in store for 2022? I didn't change the date on that. I don't want a redo of 2021. So actually, in addition to the 50th anniversary of the Inland Wetlands and Water Act and the Clean Water Act, it's the 30th anniversary of Rivers Alliance. So that's really exciting. So that's something that we're looking forward to. In addition to those things, and in conjunction with it, we're going to have some educational and networking opportunities. Hopefully the new website will be online soon, and we'll be launching a podcast, as well as many other things that are going on, including the legislative session that's coming up. So I'll be available at the end of the meeting if anybody has any questions, but I do believe it is time for us to do what we've all been waiting for and what I am really excited about. And that is presenting our environmental champions with their awards. So, all right, so I am going to start with Emily, because your daughter is waiting to go to bed. So, excuse me, let me just take a sip of water here. Pretty dry. So I think that any of us who have kids or have any inkling of what the past 2 years have been like for our educators, it really, to be able to give an award, a very well-deserved award to an educator this year, just feels extra special, because I just have so much respect for our educators who are able to really go above and beyond through everything that the changes we've gone through over the last few years in education. So Emily, and if you've read her bio in our on Facebook or in our emails, she really, we wonder, who's going to take over in the future for people like myself, or Anne, or Mary, or Lou, or I see Kevin Zach here, who, while he doesn't work full-time in environmental, he's one of those on the ground people who really cares. And who's gonna carry that on? And people like Emily are responsible for creating our future of environmental protection. She gives kids hands-on experience and really helps them, give them a vision of what they can do with the knowledge they're obtaining in school, and how they can use it in the future and make a difference. So I just want to thank you, Emily, and also is Jeff there with your plaque?
Is, oh God. You guys are so sneaky. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much.
Emily, I don't know if you want to say a few words, but
just thank you to everybody who's here. I've worked with a lot of you through either Envirothon or with projects at school, and
what we do at school is so amazing because of you guys. We have a classroom and we have students, but we couldn't do any of the cool things that we do without you. So thank you so much, Chris and Melissa. This year has been amazing. Alicia, in the past, everybody at Envirothon, thank you. I appreciate it.
I like the round of applause that everybody's doing. Thank you, guys.
May I just mention for a second that when I was, as some of you know, I was a teacher for 20 years. I taught ninth graders, and who are the most messed up people on earth. But anyway, Emily, I was looking through your biography there and the things that you've done, and I just got tired just reading it all. I mean, I can't believe, how do you do this? I mean, and have a kid.
The kids plan it all, and my husband's amazing. He's parent number one. But my kids plan it all. They really do. So
Well, is your daughter going to go into some environmental field perhaps, or teaching?
I think about 25% of them will. So that's amazing.
I want to say that good luck with all that you're doing, and just be sure you take some time for yourself. Okay, you don't want to burn out early, and then
Actually craving pulling water chestnut. So my daughter helped me out on the water this year. So it's therapy in itself.
I wanted to ask you about you're in the ag program. Does that make it easier to do like field work than a regular science teacher?
It absolutely does. We have buses, and so the rest of the school can't go on field trips right now, but I can take my students out in the field. I was out with Mary Mashinsky today. We got a day's notice that we could do bacteria testing. And so we were able to get out there today without any issues. So I have a lot more flexibility because I drive the bus than any other science teacher. I would never want to be in a science classroom because of the restrictions they have. So if you're ever in doubt that they're not doing, all they can, they really have a lot of constraints that they're working with. So.
You have an Envirothon team this year?
Yeah. Yep.
I always put in a plug for Envirothon to any environmentalist I can come up with, because it's such a great organization to get students learning about their field. And the best students I ever had were my Envirothon students. And
absolutely.
So good luck with the Envirothon, and
thank you.
Congratulations on your award. Well deserved.
Congratulations, Emily. Very well deserved.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you. You too, Lou.
Thank you. So now, and last but not least, at the end of the night here, I've worked with Lou, and many of us here have worked with Lou for many years on various issues. And you may be wondering, we're a water organization. Why did we focus on the bottle bill? Well, plastic pollution doesn't just come from nowhere. It comes from, people tossing things like plastic bottles into rivers, which they do. Anybody that's done a river cleanup can tell you the amount of bottles in cans, beverage containers, and a lot of the beverage containers, which are now included in the bottle bill, thanks to Lou's hard work with the coalition and really pushing this forward. I know that, what was it, 2 years ago in 2019, when it looked like it was going to pass and then just didn't at the end, it must have been heartbreaking, but yet, he and the coalition persevered and moved on, and we finally got that update this year. And in addition to that modernization of the bottle bill, I mean, there are so many other water related and public health issues that Lou has really helped to elevate and bring to the surface and work with all of us to help pass, like the Sewage Right to Know bill, the PFAS bills. All of these things are just so important. And so we really wanted to recognize the work that you've done, Lou. It is really well deserved. You're a great colleague and a wonderful partner. So thank you so much for everything you've done. And I couldn't get this to someone that could give it to you today, but we'll have to meet for lunch And
Sounds good.
I'll give it to you in person.
Sounds good.
It's right
Thank you.
here.
Thank you so much.
Speech.
Can I say a few words?
I want you to say a few words.
I'll try to keep it brief because I think those of you who know me know that once I get going, it's going to take an effort to stop me. So yeah, first of all, I'll just say, you know, I'm so honored, particularly because of who this award is coming from. Rivers Alliance is such an incredible organization. You all do so much important work. And to be perfectly frank, you all have been one of my biggest supporters ever since I took this role more than 10 years ago. So I want to give a special thank you to Alicia, Tony, Rose, Dwight, Margaret, Denise, all the incredible staff and board members at Rivers Alliance. Your work is indispensable. It certainly was not always easy, but we've managed to celebrate some really important victories together, as Alicia mentioned earlier. But you know, once again, I just want to emphasize the importance of your efforts in terms of our efforts working together, really, to establish a strong state water plan that recognizes water as a public trust resource. Your ongoing work on protecting our rivers and streams from sewage pollution and other types of polluted runoff, but especially and most importantly, because of all of the work that you all do day-to-day monitoring the operations of DEP and MDC and really all of the major players in the realm of water protection and water management. You all are true watchdogs. And so it really is a genuine honor to be recognized by you all. I want to just take a quick second and thank all the advocates as well. I would not have been able to achieve even a fraction of what I've done over the years, if not for your support, your trust, and your support validate my work in a very real way. So I just want to take a moment and say thank you to Anne and Megan and Lori, Janine, Marty, Paula and Kevin, Kevin and Sandra, all the folks active at the local level, the conservation districts, the watershed groups, et cetera. And to also take a moment, of course, to congratulate Emily Picard. I would agree that our educators are the true superheroes of this day and age, and you all don't get enough recognition. And so, and then finally, I want to also just say thank you to my mom, who's probably more excited than I am to be here tonight, who taught me, you know, really to use my voice to speak for others who were not able to, and to stand up and fight for those who are less fortunate than I am. So thank you, Mama. You know, I'll just end on a serious note and say, I don't need to convince you all. I feel somewhat like I'm preaching to the choir here, but you know, I believe that we're close to a moment of reckoning, and that for too long our leaders have taken our environment for granted. We see the impacts of climate change taking effect in our communities, the lack of access around the world to safe, clean drinking water, and the growing toxicity of our natural environment and our home environment. And so, you know, I think it's safe to say that as it always has, the future of our environment is going to be decided by those who show up. And you all do a phenomenal job and are second to none in that respect. So, you know, I just want to say thank you again for all your support and for naming me your environmental champion this year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your kind words as well, Lou, but we're here to honor you. So, but that's awfully sweet of you. On that note, I think he just ended on such an inspirational note. I don't want to keep you all any longer. I did want to mention though that, you know, we actually have someone joined us from Puerto Rico tonight. So we're gone beyond Connecticut borders, which is really kind of exciting. Thank you for joining us. But thank you again. Thank you all. Thank you, Lou. Thank you, Emily, for everything you do. And it was wonderful to be able to honor you guys tonight. And thanks for all of you for sitting through everything else. And hopefully next year we'll get to see you in person. So I just need a motion now because, oh, we didn't make a motion to end the business meeting. So we'll do that really quick and then.
Is there a motion? Is there a motion to
Paula just
adjourn the
moved.
business meeting?
Yes.
Moved, yeah.
Is there a second?
All right. And
This
with that,
motion to adjourn is not for discussion. Let me add one footnote for our award winners. We recognize them for their individual achievements, which are really spectacular. But the other reason why we pick award winners that we do is because they are exemplars of what we hold closest to ourselves as to what's important. And they are tremendous representatives of what we all embrace at Rivers Alliance. And we thank them for receiving the award in that way for their exemplary service. And with that, I declare this meeting closed at 7:37 p.m. May the minutes reflect that. See you next year.
great. And again, I'll stay on if anybody has any questions.